My mother looked me dead in the eyes and said it. Ava, you're just an expense. Everything I do is because I have to, not because I want to. I was 15, sophomore year, standing in our tiny Austin kitchen. Those words didn't just hurt, they changed me. Most kids would have crumbled. Some would have given up. A few might have run away. I turned it into fuel. I studied until I couldn't see straight. I worked. I fought. I won a full scholarship to Stanford, and when they held a ceremony to honor me, she cried in the back row. But that's when everything fell apart. That's when I found the file she'd been hiding. That's when I learned the truth about why she'd been so cold. She wasn't cruel. She was terrified. And she had every reason to be. The door frame cracked, not the sound of someone knocking, the sound of someone trying to break through. I was pressed against the wall of our apartment bathroom. Mom was in front of me. Her body became my shield. Rebecca, open this door right now! His voice. Daniel Bridges, my father, the man who'd been gone for 8 years. He was back, and he was furious. Mom's breathing was ragged. Her hands gripped my shoulders so tight I could feel her nails digging in. She was trembling. I'd never seen her tremble before. Ava, listen to me. Her voice was barely a whisper. When the police get here, you tell them everything. You tell them he's violated the restraining order. You tell them he attacked us. Do you understand? I nodded. My throat was too tight to speak. Outside, his fists pounded again. Harder this time. Wood splintered near the lock. You think you can humiliate me? You think you can take my daughter's success and keep me out of it? That's when I heard the sirens, faint at first, then louder. Climbing up 6th Street in Austin, cutting through the night like a promise. Mom exhaled. Her whole body sagged against mine. I'm sorry, baby, she whispered. I tried. I really tried. I didn't understand. Not yet. Because here's the thing. Up until that moment, I thought my mother was my enemy. I thought she hated me. I thought the coldness, the distance, the years of hearing nothing but criticism were because I wasn't good enough. But that night, standing in that bathroom while my father tried to claw his way back into our lives, I started to see the truth. She wasn't my enemy. She was my fortress. The police arrived within minutes. I heard them ordering him to step back, heard him yelling about his rights, heard one officer say, "Sir, you need to calm down or we're placing you under arrest." When they finally knocked and said it was safe, Mom unlocked the bathroom door. My arm was bruised where he'd grabbed me earlier. Her lip was bleeding from when he shoved her in the hallway. We looked like survivors of something much worse than a bad night. And we were. One of the officers, a woman with kind eyes and a no-nonsense voice, knelt down next to me. Ava, right? Can you tell me what happened tonight? I opened my mouth, but before I could speak, I looked at my mother. She was staring at the floor. Her hands were shaking. She looked small, defeated. I'd spent years thinking she was made of ice. Turns out she was just afraid. You want to know how we ended up here? How a Stanford scholarship turned into a crime scene? How the proudest night of my life became the most terrifying? It started 3 years earlier, sophomore year, the night she called me an expense. I was 15 when she said it. We were standing in our kitchen in Austin. Small space, yellowed linoleum, a fridge that hummed too loud. Mom was staring at a stack of bills spread across the counter. I'd just asked if we could afford new shoes for track tryouts. Mine had holes in the soles. She didn't even look up. Ava, you're just an expense. Everything I do is because I have to, not because I want to. The words hit like a slap. I stood there, frozen, waiting for her to take it back, waiting for her to say she didn't mean it. She never did. She just picked up the bills and walked to her room. The door closed behind her. Click. Final. I didn't cry. I'd learned not to cry around her years ago. Crying made her colder. Instead, I walked to my room, sat on my bed, and something inside me hardened. If I was just an expense, fine. I'd make myself worth something she couldn't ignore. That night, I made a promise to myself. I would work harder than anyone. I would study longer. I would become someone so successful that she'd regret every cold word she ever said to me. I would escape at 18, and I'd never look back. The next morning, I signed up for every tutoring session my school offered. Math, science, English. I stayed after class. I asked questions. I took notes until my hand cramped. My teachers noticed. Mrs. Patterson, my biology teacher, pulled me aside one afternoon. "Ava, you've improved dramatically this semester. What changed?" I shrugged. "Just trying harder." She smiled, but there was something sad in her eyes, like she could see through me. "If you ever need to talk, my door's open." I didn't take her up on it. Talking wouldn't change anything. At home, Mom barely acknowledged my report cards. Straight A's meant nothing. She'd glance at them, nod once, and go back to whatever she was doing. No, good job. No, I'm proud of you. Nothing. So I worked harder. I got a part-time job at Target, stocking shelves, weekend shifts, late nights. The money went into a savings account I opened without telling her, my escape fund. Every dollar was a step closer to freedom. By junior year, I was exhausted, but I was also different, sharper, colder, focused. My guidance counselor, Mr. Torres, called me into his office one day. "Ava, your GPA is exceptional. Have you thought about applying to top-tier schools?" "Like where?" "Stanford, MIT, schools that offer full rides for students like you." "Stanford, California, 3 states away from her." "Yeah," I said, "I'll apply." He leaned forward. "Can I ask you something? What's driving you? Because this level of work, it's not normal for someone your age." I looked him straight in the eye. "I just want to make something of myself." What I didn't say, I wanted to prove I was more than an expense. Senior year came fast. I applied to Stanford early, decision. Submitted my essays, sent in my transcripts, waited. Mom never asked about it. When the acceptance letter came, I opened it alone in my room. Full scholarship, housing included, 4 years paid. I'd done it. I walked into the kitchen where Mom was making coffee. I handed her the letter without saying a word. She read it. Her face didn't change. "That's good," she said quietly. Then she handed it back and left the room. No hug, no celebration, nothing. But I didn't need it anymore. I'd built myself into someone who didn't need her approval. Or so I thought. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, was that everything I thought I understood about her was wrong. And I was about to find out why. The auditorium was packed. I'd never seen that many people show up for anything at Travis High School. Students, teachers, parents, even a crew from the local news station with cameras and lights. All of them were there for me. Principal Carmichael stood at the podium adjusting the microphone. "Today, we celebrate one of the most exceptional students this school has ever seen. Ava Hill has earned a full ride scholarship to Stanford University." Applause erupted. I sat in the front row in a dress I'd bought with my Target paychecks. My hands were folded in my lap. I kept my face neutral. This was everything I'd worked for, everything I'd sacrificed sleep and sanity to achieve. So why did I feel so empty? I scanned the crowd. Classmates I barely knew were clapping. Teachers were smiling. Mr. Torres gave me a thumbs up from the back. And then I saw her, Mom, sitting alone in the last row, away from everyone else. She was crying, not sobbing, just silent tears running down her face. She didn't wipe them away. She just sat there, watching me like I was something precious she was afraid to touch. I wanted to feel angry. I wanted to think, "Now you care? Now that everyone's watching?" But instead, I felt something else. Something I didn't have a name for. Confusion, maybe. Or the first crack in the wall I'd built around my heart. Principal Carmichael called my name. I stood and walked to the stage. The applause got louder. Camera flashes went off. A reporter positioned herself near the steps for an interview afterward. I shook hands, accepted the certificate, smiled for the photos. Ava, tell us, what does this scholarship mean to you? The reporter asked, shoving a microphone in my face. It means I get to build the future I've been working toward, I said. The answer was rehearsed. Safe. And your family must be so proud. I hesitated, just for a second. They are, I lied. After the ceremony, people swarmed me. Teachers hugged me, classmates I'd never spoken to congratulated me. The reporter asked more questions. I answered them all on autopilot. Mom stayed in the back. She didn't approach, didn't try to join the celebration. She just watched and cried. Part of me wanted to go to her, to ask why she was crying, to finally understand what was happening behind those eyes. But I didn't. Because the truth is, I was still angry, still hurt, still carrying the weight of, "You're just an expense," like a stone in my chest. I thought this moment would feel like victory. Instead, it felt like standing on the edge of something I didn't understand. And then I saw him. A man in a leather jacket standing near the auditorium entrance. Tall, graying hair. A smile that didn't reach his eyes. He was staring at me. Not like a stranger, like someone who knew me. I didn't recognize him. Not at first. But Mom did. I watched her face go white. Watched her stand up too fast, nearly tripping over the chair in front of her. Watched her start moving toward the exit, her eyes locked on him. That's when it clicked. My father, Daniel Bridges. The man who'd been gone for 8 years. He wasn't supposed to be here. He wasn't allowed to be here. But he walked into that auditorium like he owned the place. Like he had every right to be there. And when our eyes met, he smiled. Not a kind smile. A claiming smile. Like I was something that belonged to him. He didn't wait long to make his move. Before I could get off the stage, he was working the crowd, shaking hands with teachers, introducing himself to the news crew, acting like he'd been part of my life this whole time. I'm Daniel Bridges, Ava's father. Proud doesn't even cover it. The reporter lit up. Mr. Bridges, you must be thrilled. What was it like raising such an accomplished daughter? I watched from 10 feet away. My stomach turned. He laughed. Easy, charming. It wasn't easy, I'll tell you that, but we always believed in her, always pushed her to be her best. We, as if he'd been there, as if he hadn't disappeared when I was 9 years old. Mr. Torres stepped closer to me. Ava, is that... Yeah, I said. My voice was flat. That's him. I looked for Mom. She'd made it to the exit, but stopped. She was frozen there, watching him with an expression I'd never seen before. Terror. Pure, raw terror. Daniel spotted her. His smile widened. He excused himself from the reporter and walked straight toward her. Rebecca. Long time. She didn't respond, just stared at him like he was a ghost she'd been praying would stay dead. Here's what I didn't understand yet. Restraining orders only work if someone enforces them. And Daniel Bridges was very good at knowing exactly how far he could push before the law stepped in. I'm just here to support my daughter, he said, loud enough for people nearby to hear. That's allowed, isn't it? Mom's voice came out small. You need to leave. It's a public event, Rebecca. I have every right to be here. I pushed through the crowd and stood next to her. She said leave. He looked at me for a long moment. His eyes were cold, calculating. Then his face softened into something that almost looked like affection. Ava, look at you, all grown up. Stanford, huh? That's my girl. I'm not your girl. DNA says different. He laughed like it was a joke. Come on, don't be like that. Let me take you two out to celebrate. Dinner. My treat. No, Mom said. Her voice was stronger now. We're leaving. She grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the exit. He followed us. Not aggressively. Not in a way anyone else would notice. But he followed. Through the parking lot, to Mom's old Honda. She fumbled with her keys, hands shaking so badly she dropped them. I picked them up. Unlocked the doors. We got in fast. Daniel tapped on the window. Mom started the engine, put it in reverse. He didn't move, just stood there, smiling. I know where you live, Rebecca. Same apartment, right? 6th Street? She didn't answer. She backed out. He stepped aside at the last second. We drove in silence. Mom's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. I kept checking the rearview mirror, expecting to see his car behind us. How does he know where we live? I asked. Mom didn't answer right away. When she finally spoke, her voice cracked. He always knows. We got home 20 minutes later. Mom parked. Neither of us moved to get out. Why did he come? I asked. After all this time? Why now? She looked at me. Her eyes were red. Because you're successful now. Because there's something to claim. I didn't understand. Not fully. But I was about to. Because when we walked into our apartment building, he was already there, leaning against our door like he'd been waiting. We need to talk, he said. And this time, he wasn't smiling. You're not coming in, Mom said. Her voice was steady, but her body wasn't. She positioned herself between him and the door. Daniel tilted his head. I'm not asking for much, Rebecca. Just a conversation. Just a chance to be part of this. You gave up that chance 8 years ago. I made mistakes. I'm trying to make it right. By showing up uninvited? By violating... Careful. His voice dropped. You really want to finish that sentence in front of Ava? I didn't understand what he meant, but Mom did. She went pale. Ava, go inside, she said quietly. I'm not leaving you out here with him. Go. Inside. Now. I'd never heard that tone from her before. It wasn't anger, it was fear wrapped in command. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. But I didn't close it. I stood in the doorway, watching. Daniel took a step closer to Mom, not threatening, just close enough that his voice could drop to a whisper. I can make your life very difficult, Rebecca, or I can walk away. Your choice. But if I walk away, I'm taking my daughter's story with me. Every interview, every news outlet. I'll tell them how you kept me away, how you poisoned her against me. You did that yourself. That's not how I'll tell it. That's when I understood. This wasn't about reconciliation. This wasn't about fatherly pride. This was about control, about owning my success because he couldn't create any of his own. Mom's shoulders sagged. What do you want? Dinner tomorrow, you, me, and Ava. We sit down like a family, we take some pictures, we let people see that we're all on good terms. And if I say no, he smiled, you won't. Then he turned and walked away, down the hall, into the stairwell, gone. Mom stood there for a long time, just breathing. When she finally came inside, she locked the door, then the deadbolt, then the chain. Pack a bag, she said. What? We're leaving, tonight. We'll stay with your Aunt Marie in Dallas until... Mom, stop. We're not running. You don't understand what he's capable of. Then tell me. She looked at me, really looked at me, and for the first time in years, I saw something other than distance in her eyes. I saw desperation. I can't, she whispered. She went to her bedroom and closed the door. I stood in the living room, my mind racing. I didn't understand any of this. Why she was so afraid. Why she'd rather run than fight. Why she'd spent years pushing me away, only to panic the moment he showed up. I needed answers. I walked to her bedroom door, knocked, no response. Mom? Nothing. I turned the handle. It wasn't locked. She was sitting on her bed, head in her hands. She didn't look up when I came in. That's when I saw it. The folder on her nightstand. Old. Worn. Stuffed with papers. It must have fallen when she sat down. Some of the contents had spilled onto the floor. I picked up the nearest paper, without thinking. It was a police report, dated 9 years ago. Victim, Rebecca Hill. Injuries, fractured wrist, bruising to ribs and face. Suspect, Daniel Bridges. My hands went numb. I picked up another page, another report, then another. Photos of her face swollen and bruised, court documents, restraining orders that had been filed and refiled, and at the bottom, a handwritten note in her shaky handwriting. If anything happens to me, protect Ava. If he returns, hide Ava. He will use her to hurt me. The folder slipped from my hands. Mom looked up, saw what I was holding, saw the expression on my face. Ava, you weren't cold because you hated me. She didn't respond. You were preparing me. You were making sure I'd be strong enough to survive without you. In case he... I couldn't finish the sentence. She stood, crossed the room, and for the first time in 8 years, she hugged me. Really hugged me. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. And I finally understood. She never called me an expense because she believed it. She called me that so I'd leave, so I'd build a life far away from him, so I'd never need her. Because she knew, she'd always known, that one day he'd come back, and she was right. We didn't go to dinner. Mom called him the next morning and said no. Simple as that. I heard her on the phone, voice shaking but firm. We're not doing this, Daniel. Stay away from us. Then she hung up. For 2 days, nothing happened. No calls, no visits, no sign of him. I almost let myself believe he'd given up. I should have known better. It was Friday night, homecoming weekend. I wasn't going to the dance. I'd never been that kind of teenager. But Mom insisted I go out with friends. You need to be a kid sometimes, she said. So I went to dinner with 2 girls from my physics class. Nothing fancy, just burgers at a diner on South Congress. We laughed. I actually laughed. For 2 hours, I forgot about Stanford and scholarships and restraining orders. When I got home around 9, the apartment was dark. Mom? No answer. I flipped on the lights. The living room was empty. Her bedroom door was open. Empty, too. My stomach tightened. I pulled out my phone to call her. That's when I heard the knock. 3 hard raps. Then his voice. Ava, open the door. It's Dad. I froze. Your mom's not home. I just want to talk. 5 minutes. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Here's what you need to understand. Fear makes you stupid. It makes you second-guess every instinct. Part of me thought maybe if I ignored him, he'd leave. Maybe if I stayed quiet, he'd think no one was home. But he knew I was there. I saw you come in, Ava. I've been waiting. Come on, open up. My hand hovered over my phone. I should have called 911 right then. Instead, I called Mom. It rang, and rang, then voicemail. I texted her. Where are you? Dad's here. No response. The knocking got louder, more insistent. Ava, don't make this difficult. I'm your father. I have a right to see you. You have a restraining order, I said through the door. My voice came out stronger than I felt. He laughed. That's between me and your mother, not you. Leave, or I'm calling the police. Silence. For a moment, I thought he'd actually listened. Then I heard it, the sound of metal scraping against metal. He was picking the lock. I ran to my room, slammed the door, shoved my desk chair under the handle. I called 911. 911, what's your emergency? My father's breaking into our apartment. He has a restraining order. The front door burst open. I heard his footsteps. Heavy, deliberate, walking through our living room like he owned it. Ava, come out. Stop being dramatic. The dispatcher was asking for my address. I gave it in a whisper. 6th Street, apartment 2B. Officers are on the way. Stay on the line. Daniel tried my bedroom door. It rattled but held. Open this door right now. No. I'm not asking. He slammed into it. Once, twice. The chair started to slide. That's when I remembered my phone had a camera. I started recording. You're breaking into my home, I said, loud enough for the audio to pick up. You have a restraining order. You're violating. The door flew open. The chair skidded across the floor. He stood in the doorway, breathing hard. His face was red. His eyes were wild. You think you're so smart, don't you, Stanford girl, making me look like the bad guy. You are the bad guy. He crossed the room in 2 steps, grabbed my arm, hard. I kept the phone recording. Let go of me. You're coming with me, right now. We're going to fix this. You're going to tell everyone I'm a good father. You're hurting me. I'm not asking. That's when I heard it. Sirens. His grip loosened, just slightly. He looked toward the window. You called the cops? On your own father? You broke in. You attacked me. His face twisted, and for just a second, I saw what Mom had seen all those years ago. The rage, the violence, the man who put her in the hospital. He shoved me backward. I hit the wall. The phone fell. But it was still recording. He leaned in close. You just made a huge mistake. The sirens were right outside now. Red and blue lights flashing through the window. Footsteps pounded up the stairs. Voices shouting, Police! Open the door! Daniel straightened, smoothed his jacket, like he could just switch back to charming, but his hands were still shaking. And I had it all on video. The police didn't believe him. Daniel tried. He really tried. Told them it was a misunderstanding, that he was just checking on his daughter, that the door was already open. But I had the video, and the bruises forming on my arm, and the neighbor from across the hall who'd heard everything and called 911 too. Sir, you're under arrest for violating a protective order, breaking and entering, and assault. They cuffed him. Read him his rights. Walked him down the stairs while he yelled about his rights as a father. I stood in the doorway and watched him go. One of the officers stayed behind. A woman with short gray hair and kind eyes. Officer Mendoza. You did good, calling when you did, she said. That video's going to make the prosecutor's job easy. Will it stick this time? I asked. She looked at me carefully. This time? He's been arrested before, for hurting my mom. It never stuck. Her expression darkened. It'll stick now. I'll make sure of it. Mom arrived 10 minutes later. She must have been at the grocery store. She had bags in her hands. When she saw the police cars, she dropped everything and ran. Ava, I'm okay. She grabbed my face with both hands, checked my eyes, my arms, looking for damage. He broke in. Did he hurt you? I'm fine. I recorded it. They have him. She collapsed. Right there in the hallway. Just sank to the floor like all the air had left her body. And she cried. Not the silent tears from the ceremony. Real, gut-wrenching sobs. The kind that come from years of holding everything. And I sat down next to her, put my arm around her shoulders. It's over, Mom. He's going away this time. She shook her head. You don't understand. This is my fault. All of it. I should have protected you better. You did protect me. By pushing you away? By making you think I didn't care? By making me strong enough to survive without you. She looked at me. Her face was blotchy and wet. I read the file, I said quietly. I know what he did to you. I know why you were the way you were. Her mouth opened, closed. She couldn't find words. You weren't cruel, Mom. You were scared. And you were trying to prepare me for the worst. I was so afraid, she whispered. Every day. Afraid he'd come back. Afraid he'd hurt you the way he hurt me. Afraid you'd love me, and he'd use that against us. So you made me hate you instead, she nodded. I thought if you didn't need me, you'd be safe. If you were strong and independent, he couldn't use you to control me. I thought I thought it was the only way. I thought about all those years, the coldness, the distance, the "you're just an expense" line that had carved itself into my heart. And I finally understood. She didn't say those things because they were true. She said them because she loved me. "I'm sorry, Ava." She was crying again. "I'm so sorry. I wasn't strong enough back then. I let him break me. And I broke you in the process." "You didn't break me. You built me." She looked up at me, confusion in her eyes. "Everything I am, the scholarship, the strength, the fight, it's because of you. You made me believe I had to be more than what I was. And I became that. But you shouldn't have had to. Maybe not, but I did. And now he's gone. For real this time." Officer Mendoza appeared in the doorway. "Ms. Hill, we'll need statements from both of you. But there's something you should know. We pulled his record. He's got outstanding warrants in 2 other states: assault, harassment. This isn't just about the restraining order anymore. He's looking at serious time." Mom exhaled. A long, shaky breath. "Good," she said. We gave our statements, handed over the video, signed the paperwork. It took hours. When we finally got back inside the apartment, it was past midnight. Mom made tea. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where she'd called me an expense 3 years ago. "Can I ask you something?" I said. "Anything. When you cried at the ceremony, what were you thinking?" She smiled, sad but real. "I was thinking I'd done it. I'd gotten you to the finish line. You were going to Stanford. You were going to escape. And I'd never have to tell you the truth about why I was the way I was." She paused. "And then he showed up, and I realized I'd been fooling myself. You can't outrun the past. You can only face it." "We faced it," I said. "You faced it. I just survived it." "That's enough, Mom. That's more than enough." She reached across the table and took my hand. "I'm proud of you, Ava. I've always been proud of you." It was the first time she'd ever said it, and I believed her. The trial happened fast. With the video evidence, the witnesses, and his outstanding warrants, Daniel Bridges took a plea deal. 7 years, no parole for at least 5. Mom and I sat in the courtroom when the judge read the sentence. She didn't cry. She just nodded once, like she'd been holding her breath for 8 years and finally let it out. Outside the courthouse, she turned to me. "It's really over. It's really over." We went home, not to pack, not to run, just to exist in a space that finally felt safe. Stanford didn't start until September. I had 3 months. 3 months to figure out how to be a daughter to a mother I'd spent years misunderstanding. It wasn't easy. You can't undo years of distance in a few weeks. You can't erase the hurt just because you understand the reasons behind it. But we tried. Mom started going to therapy, twice a week. She'd come home looking exhausted, but lighter somehow. Like she was setting down weight she'd carried too long. "My therapist says I need to let you see me," she told me one evening. "The real me, not the armor." "I'd like that." She smiled, small but genuine. "Me too." We started doing small things together, grocery shopping, watching old movies, cooking dinner without the silence feeling heavy. One night, about a month before I left for Stanford, we were washing dishes. She was scrubbing, I was drying, and out of nowhere, she said it. "You were never an expense, Ava. You were the only thing that mattered." I stopped, dish towel in my hands. "Then why did you say it?" "Because I needed you to believe you could survive without me. I needed you to be strong enough to walk away if you had to." She set down the sponge. "I never wanted you to need me the way I needed your father. That kind of need destroys you. So you made me hate you instead. I made you independent. It was the only gift I knew how to give." I thought about that. About all the nights I studied, fueled by anger. All the hours I worked determined to prove her wrong. All the walls I built so I wouldn't need anyone. She'd been right. In the cruelest, most painful way possible, she'd been right. I don't hate you, Mom. I know, but you did. For a long time. Yeah, I did. She nodded. You had every right to. We finished the dishes in silence, but it wasn't the old silence. It was the kind of quiet that comes after a storm, when the air feels clean and the world feels possible again. August came, moving day. Mom drove me to the airport. We didn't talk much in the car. What was there to say that we hadn't already? At the gate, she hugged me, long and tight, the kind of hug I'd needed when I was 15. I'm going to miss you, she said. I'll call every week. You better. She pulled back, looked at me, really looked at me. You're going to do amazing things, Ava, not because you have to, but because you want to. I smiled. I learned from the best. She laughed, cried a little, laughed again. I boarded the plane, found my seat, looked out the window as we took off, and I thought about everything that had brought me here. The coldness, the anger, the scholarship, the folder, the arrest, the apology. All of it had led to this moment. I wasn't just an expense. I never was. I was my mother's reason to survive. And now, finally, she was my reason to believe that love doesn't always look like warmth. Sometimes it looks like distance. Sometimes it looks like armor. And sometimes it looks like a mother willing to be hated if it means her daughter stays safe. That's the kind of love that builds warriors. And I was ready to fight for the life we'd both earned.